We can learn from the media that drones have changed the appearance of war in this world, especially in the Russia-Ukraine war. Ukraine is obviously a small country and he has slowly lost the support from the United States, but he can still make Russia feel that it is walking even, and he still feels pressure in Russia. Why? It is in Ukraine that during this period of time, he actually developed a huge drone industrial chain. Moreover, about 7 million drones are produced in a year, which can hide short and medium ranges. Now, Russia's oil-like factories and Russia's important military facilities are all within the scope of Ukrainian UAV design, which has completely changed the appearance of this war in the past, especially in the European battlefield. 60% to 70% of business networks are now caused by drones. In addition, we see that on the Iranian battlefield, Iran is of course a small country, but Iran is also through its drones, now against the Middle East and even against the Fifth Fleet of the United States. It has also caused huge pressure. This is why Taiwan province said that we have to face China now and we have to fight a war against each other now. Taiwan province must develop our drone industry chain now, but we just listen. We didn't go to the scene. We didn't actually see how drones changed the world, how drones changed the battlefield. Recently, we saw the adventurous chairman Huang Zhifang. He had already worked very hard to finish the computer station in Taipei before. What about now? He took the visiting delegation from Taiwan province and this industrial chain from Taiwan province to Poland non-stop. He knew that it was time for Taiwan province to go to Poland. But he didn't expect that he actually entered Ukraine. On the front line, he actually saw how Ukraine used drones in the war and how to change the battlefield with drones, and drones are now fighting the future war. How important is it? Especially for future drones, will it become a huge industrial chain? Will it turn into a huge business opportunity? Then if it is a huge industrial chain and a huge business opportunity, especially if it is a very important element of asymmetric war in war, what exactly should Taiwan do? How exactly are we going to enter this market? Well, we are very pleased to invite Huang Zhifang to our site today. Hello, Chairman.
I'm sorry. Hello, everyone. Didn't you expect to come to you again so soon?
I didn't expect that just after the computer show on this station, you went to Ukraine again, and then Ukraine. I think it's funny that Taiwan just happened to be discussing it. Because we said before that we were the executive yuan and wanted to pass this regulation on drones. We originally thought that our blue and white, that is, the Kuomintang and the People's Party, would oppose it. But we didn't expect Han Kuo-yu to go to the United States. 180-degree transformation, you want to find Han Kuo-yu to go to the United States. The United States only cares about two things. One is your military purchase, and the second is your UAV industry chain. Finally, you see Han Kuo-yu's complete 180-degree transformation, which means that Taiwan province is now serious. I want to enter this market and build this industrial chain, and it is a huge interest, and this huge interest. Now, if it is not only Chia Yi-tai-chung who is sharpening his knife to grab him, the first thing we have to ask is, because we all heard it, when you go to the scene, you feel that you have reached Lviv, and you have directly entered Ukraine. Now, the most important weapon on the Obud battlefield is really the drone cat.
Of course, it is a drone, and it is comprehensive, not just on the battlefield.
Comprehensiveness.
This is a full-scale war of attrition, so both sides use drones to attack each other and then destroy each other's infrastructure. To destroy the other party's economic lifeline, well, and then to destroy the other party's social stability. Then the director of our Taiwan Trade Center in Kiev was directly hit by a Russian drone on the roof of the building opposite him in October last year, and he scared him half in the middle of the night.
Dead, he's in Livorno. That Lee and my husband actually divorced.
No, he's basic in the capital. Then this time it was to Lviv, right? He went to Poland to get us close to Lviv, right? So you can imagine saying drones, its application now, has completely jumped out. At the beginning of the war between Ukraine and Ukraine in 2022, everyone's imagination of him. In the past few years, drones can be said to be unmanned vehicles, completely reversing the logic of the whole defense industry and war. Well, because it flips the logic of war, so its entire completely flips the defense industry. What about the logic of war? This asymmetric and decentralized war has completely changed our imagination of war. Well, if you're using 20th century strategic thinking, come to fight the war in the 21st century, then you will be in great trouble. Then of course I think this military expert has their comments like, recently the United States, Israel and Iran happened in the Middle East. then the United States and Israel have very powerful advanced technology and weapons, but Iran has drones and missile mines. Mines are very traditional, but Iran uses a very asymmetric way. He uses a 50,000 yuan drone, and then there are a large number of drones. You can make the United States. Aircraft carriers with a cost of billions dare not enter the whole strait. And the same situation happened on the Ukrainian battlefield. Ukraine relied on its unmanned vehicle drone on the water to secretly defend against missiles. He made the powerful Russian Black Sea Fleet almost afraid to go to sea. However, the flagship pair of the Russian fleet was knocked down by this unmanned vehicle.
Moscow.
It was knocked out, right? So he could say completely flip the logic of this whole war. Well, then we also saw what happened recently, including during our visit to Ukraine. That Ukraine is now drone, he has this 3-layer strike capability, and the first layer is of course FTV on the battlefield. Well, this kind of suicidal armored vehicle personnel specifically used to sabotage each other. The second is the medium-range strike capability. Then this loyal strike capability hits the supply line of the Second Army, whether you are ammunition, weapons, and medical supplies. That is because when this supply line is badly hit, the wounded soldiers on your front line are not treated. Well, the soldiers on the front lines don't have supplies and ammunition. Well, level 3 is what you just mentioned, and he has developed the ability to strike at long range. President Zelensky told the press conference that they have developed a long-range strike capability of 3,000 kilometers, and his latest long-range strike capability can reach 2,000 kilometers near Moscow and even the electric oil plant in St. Petersburg. That can even be pushed all the way to Ula Mountain. Well, Ukraine believes that it is imposing another kind of economic sanctions on Russia. Its drones can export Russia's petroleum as long as they can destroy an oil refinery. Well, a few percentage points down. If this station continues like this, well, he really is completely flipping the logic of war, because the logic of war is flipped, and the logic of the defense industry is also flipped. Well, if you pay attention to stocks all over the world, stock market US, stock market Taiwan province, stock market South Korea, Japan stock markets have not surged in the past 6 months. Well, but the two most important military industry companies in the United States, one is Martin of Lockheed, and the other is that Thunder Clinic.
No, see.
Roman. The stocks invested by these two military tools fell 18% and 14% respectively. Well, why? Because the representative says this traditional large platform and large vehicle, well then the era of expensive equipment, that era has been flipped. Of course, these defense giants won't sit back and wait like this. I think sometimes we are developing our future military industry, and we really have to think about it. What about these defense giants? He immediately went into national defense innovation. Well, and then use this to acquire these new defense startups that are developing very rapidly to get the latest technology. So the drone really has completely capsized this whole thing.
War, industrial war thinking, war, industrial war.
Change is changing. So I think Iran and Ukraine are using 21st century strategic thinking. In this battle.
And you said that no one is terrible now that he can't guard against it, and he can't guard against it. He told him that because of my turbine, I went in, and now 60% to 70% of the casualties on the Russia-Ukraine battlefield are approved by drones. It's not the same proportion of casualties as you used to imagine, that aircraft, cannon, and this shell.
Now, some people on the battlefield even say 80% damage. It was caused by a drone, and this drone has now developed two. American startups have developed these drones, which can stay in the sky for a long period of 6 hours, well, monitoring the battlefield. What about your battlefield? As long as it's like the engine of a tank. Or maybe your radar turns on, start scanning, right? He sees it right away, and then he commits suicide, right? He comes down and hits you. Oh, you think about how scary that is.
And are drones hard to detect? Because it is not big, yes. So it is very quiet, right? So it is not big and it is very quiet. So it can volunteer for 6 hours. When you use the current radar or you use the current air defense equipment, it is difficult to catch it.
No, because it is mobile, it will move at any time, right? Move at any time then. In addition, combined with the current AI technology, artificial intelligence plays a very, very important role in this war, especially battlefield management.
Okay, then you went, especially this time, and you also brought Taiwan province manufacturers. I know that Ukraine has actually been coming to Taiwan province in recent years. In fact, they have been going to Taiwan province to seek this supply chain in Taiwan province because you just said today that he is on the infrared equipment on the MCU, that is to say, on the microprocessor. Their demand is very high because they have now entered a new competition. It used to be one-on-one, that is, I had a drone in the past and then I found a target. I found 43 drones and I will attack you. But now, when both sides are promoting, for example, Ukraine wants to enter the next stage called swarm strategy. Swarm strategy means that I want a good microprocessor and I want to be able to communicate with each other. After I go up, I want to be able to fight alone.